Welcome to the Believe in Action podcast. I'm Michelle West, coach, performer, and founder of BIA Nutrition. And around here, we don't just believe in change, we take action to make it happen, because at BIA, we know that initiative plus action equals change. So let's get into it. Today, we have a special guest. I am so excited to introduce Steven Hoschak. Am I saying your last name correctly, Hoschak? Yes. Amazing. Hoschak is joining us from Legacy Health and Wellness, and we have a beautiful announcement that is happening within BIA, and we're super excited about the collaboration with BIA Nutrition and Legacy Health and Wellness, because we are going to come together and do something a little bit different in the world, right? Because it's not just about calories in, calories out anymore. It's about internal wellness and health and well-being, and making sure that everyone is taking care of themselves from the inside out. Because if you don't start from the inside, then therefore you ain't gonna really see no more changes from the outside. So I met Steven in class. We took a functional health class together with William Grazione.
Grazione.
And we became friends after that. We started chatting it up. We were talking about Instagram. We were talking about coaching. We're talking about wellness. We're talking about peptides. We're talking about all the things together. And, we came up with the idea of, how about we just work together on this thing? Because my clients need help. Steven needs help. And we're going to do this together. So I am excited to introduce you, Steven. And I want you to be able to introduce yourself to our audience here, so we know exactly who you are, what you do, why you're in the space, and how we can come together to make a beautiful connection here, which is super exciting. So tell me a little bit about you. Tell me about who you are. Why are you here?
Yes, ma'am. Well, first and foremost, Michelle and the BIA family, thank you so much for listening to me talk today. I hope I can provide some value to all of you while I'm on here. But my name is Steven Hoschak, and I'm the co-founder of Legacy Health and Wellness. We are a faith-based functional medicine clinic located in Tampa, Florida, and I get to run this practice alongside my wife, who is our medical operations director, a medical director, Dr. Sam Samurai, our partners Jamie and Evelyn Embriani, and we all get to do God's work through our business. So we started this business to really be able to help people feel and look their best, but also using science, using data, and using information to drive results. And through that, we've been able to help several hundred people. We're over 2,000 pounds in weight loss, over 150 type 2 diabetes reversals. So it's been an absolute blessing to do God's work.
Incredible. That is amazing. I'm so proud of what you've been able to do and what you stand for. I love you're here to put people first and to make sure that people are feeling their absolute best. And I thought it was important that you just talked about, we're doing this through science. So what do you feel as though that people are missing in today's age when it comes to just overall health and wellness? When we come from that age of, macro-based, of calories in, calories out, or hitting your macros, hitting your enough protein, carbs, fats, all those things, what we used to do, because we know that was, kind of the driver of results. When you first get into this, you think okay, my food needs to be this, my training needs to be this. What do you feel as though that is the next level when it comes to the science? Why do you feel as though people need to be paying attention to this?
I often use the analogy of your car, right? When you take your car and you put gas in it, you put oil in it, that's your macros. That's hitting your macros, that's hitting your nutrition. But when you take that car in and you get that super expensive under the hood, where they look at your brake fluid and they look at, the internals and make sure that everything's working inside the car, that's what the lab work is. And I think for most people, if you want the best results, the quickest results, and the longest sustained health that you could possibly have, looking at your labs is the way to do it. And so, we've been able to prove this not only in the folks that normally are getting labs, folks that are in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s and on, but we've got 20-year-old men and women coming into our clinic now, where we're seeing low testosterone, thyroid dysfunction, things that we can catch, fix now, so that they don't have a life riddled with diabetes, or even worse, on different pharmaceuticals that quite frankly, conventional medicine loves to prescribe.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't tell you how many times that I have heard from my clients or people in the fitness space that have talked about getting labs or getting, blood work from their doctors and not feeling like they're getting the support that they need when it comes to the things that are coming back. I really started getting into functional health once I started with my coach, and my coach was very adamant about, okay, when you first start off with me, you're going to get lab work drawn. I got it drawn within the first 6 months. And this is something that I never really even thought about, which is so crazy because I was a woman who started on birth control when I was very, very young, 10 or 11 years old. I got my period when I was 8, and I had very, very bad, uncontrollable cycles. And mind you, I would consider myself an athlete when I was younger. I did dance since I was 2 years old, and I've been, dancing ever since. Lots of hours of, in the dance studio, maybe lots of stress when I guess to school and education or anything like that. Not really versed in my nutrition by any means. Very fortunate kid, I would say, because my parents always had, a protein on a plate, a vegetable on a plate, you know what I mean? Even coming up as a Black woman, like being able to have access to that was great as a kid. But I did have, over access to overly ultra processed foods and everything like that. So I never really took into consideration of the background of why I may have been put on birth control maybe too early or anything like that. And I was just put on birth control because of, hey, this is the way to be able to solve your issues, put a Band-Aid over the problem versus, looking deeper into these things. And once I started getting my blood work back, my coach had been able to guide me in a direction on, this is the way that we need to go for you to feel optimal, not necessarily just as a bodybuilder, but for your life, for you as a woman, for you as an aging woman, things coming up in the forefront that you need to be paying attention to. So I think it's really important that, our women who are coming on to BIA, even our men, to just have that support from the get-go, to kind of look at the lab, see what's going on so that we can be able to provide for them moving forward, and then tailor a nutrition protocol or a training protocol based off of what their lab work is saying. So I think this is really, really important. I wish I had this when I was when I was coming up. Do you feel the same way? Like you wish you had this when you were starting?
Wish I had that, and I also wish the number one question that doctors asked when a patient walked in was, what's your lifestyle? Because that usually will answer the question to why they have the dysfunction they're in that said office for. And so, yeah, I mean, I wish I could have had it back when I was a child, but I often talk about the principle of we have the opportunity to create generational health. We always hear about generational wealth and retirement accounts, but right now we're able to teach the next generation, teach our children what macros are and what a balanced diet looks like and the timing of fats and carbohydrates. So, what we do is such a gift, and it's like the gift that I just want to spread. I want to spread it everywhere we can, because the more people that understand this, the more people we're going to impact long term. And I do think that there's a shift in this country where health's starting to become important. Again,
I agree.
I say that the dad bod trend, I think, is over now, so we're moving on.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. There's more people who are in the gym, women and men, who are ready to change their lives. They want to change their bodies. And I do think that they want to do it in the most efficient way instead of the most crazy way, just because of the amount of time and energy that we're putting onto other things, work, family, all of those things, you know what I mean? And at least, when you're getting blood work done, I feel as though that you can actually really manage how to be able to put into account rest and recovery on top of, you being able to get in the gym, you being able to have a balanced diet. It's kind of putting everything into perspective on how important both of these things are. And if we don't take into account, rest and recovery, if we don't take into account stress levels, if we don't take into account our gut health, all the things like that, then we're never really going to see how it's going to reflect on the outside.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. So tell me, what made you start Legacy Health and Wellness? Like, why did you start this?
So I'll try to make a very long story short. So I've always been fascinated with fitness and health and nutrition, and I started very young in this. I always say I'm a reformed fat kid, so I was fat all the way through junior high, and then in high school I went out, I went and played football, and I got knocked on my butt my first practice, and I said never again. So I started the
Mm.
gym. I went out and bought my Nitro Tech protein, all that stuff, and so I started learning. I think my first book I ever bought was Arnold Schwarzenegger's Modern Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding,
Love
and
it.
I started to dive into it. So I had a lot of success with it. Then fast forward, married, in a career in banking, and really let my health go. And I got really, really overweight. And so I had to go on this journey to lose over 110 pounds. And it just re-changed everything about me. I'll never forget the day that I was in the bathroom and I went to bend down to tie my shoe and I was out of breath. That was it for me. And
Mm.
so fast forward, really dove into nutrition, got all my certifications in nutrition, studied under Will Grazione, and then got into competitive bodybuilding, and started to realize that bodybuilding has created so much of the science that really leads to endocrine balance and even metabolic function to some degrees. Bodybuilding has figured it out now, to the tune of a lot of people getting hurt, unfortunately, but we have
Hmm.
learned a lot. And so through that, I started using hormone replacement therapy. My testosterone was very, very low from being overweight all those years, and I realized that it was just very, like, I hate to say it, but bro sciencey, like,
Yeah.
yeah, just take this and you'll be good. And there was really no, like, consideration for, is my blood thickening? Is there any potential risk down the road? And so myself, my wife, and our two best friends and partners in this business, we go to Cabo once a year, and we call it like our little Mecca. And we talked about, like, how could we really make an impact and change the business of hormone replacement and peptide therapy. And so we really prayed on it and put together Legacy Health and Wellness, and it came together. I'm not going to say it was an easy process by any means, but we were at 250 patients inside of 6 months.
Mm.
USF School of Business was, or I mean, not, it's not School of Business. USF School of Medicine was sending us patients. We were working with doctors in the area that believed in what we did, and we really were able to build a following of people that understood that we were really filling a gap where conventional medicine stopped. And
Mm.
so what started as a hormone replacement clinic, peptide therapy clinic, we're now full functional medicine. So we're doing everything from those modalities to medical weight loss supervised with our own protocol, because I'm not a big believer in just using those drugs. Stem cell therapy, exosome therapy, and the sky's the limit. We're continuing to add things that we can to really help people live and feel their best and not be reliant on a healthcare system that dictates your treatment, because not every person's the same. And that's the one thing that I would say loudly about the difference between us and most of our competitors is we take a detailed approach to every client we work with. And in
Hmm.
this partnership with BIA, we're going to do it the same. And we want to make sure that we're delivering at an extremely high level.
Amazing. I love that. So tell me, why is it so important to get labs? Why should someone, if they're just starting their journey, like for the first time, and they're like, I want to get fit. I see my body I don't feel good. My energy is low. These are the main things that I'm hearing from women who come into the program. I want to lose my tummy. I want to get toned. I want to feel more confident again. I want to do this and this and this. And our approach with BIA, I mean, I would say our approach still now is like, okay, let's get you into a program. Let's look at your lifestyle. Like, what is your lifestyle doing to be able to make sure that you can get to, these results? But now we're taking it a step further to be able to be like, okay, what's the lab work saying? Which honestly comes up on the consultation calls all the time. Women usually always say something about their hormone levels or their metabolism. Those are the two things that do come up in conversation. It's always been something that I felt as though that it should be, I should be aware of in the beginning. Of course I'm aware of it, and I know some of the things that we should be taking part of when I hear a woman say, I have PCOS, or I have fibroids, or my periods are bad, or I don't sleep at night. So some of the things are like, kind of, I know those things, but why is it so important, do you feel, to get labs right from the beginning? And what would you say to a person who's scared to get that lab work done?
I have so many thoughts here. So
Go ahead. Look,
yeah,
I got the coffee. We got a coffee
there
here.
you
We
go.
kikiing, okay?
There you go. I love it.
And I want
I
to give
love
you
it.
space to be able to tell your story, tell what you think, because I think it's important to be able to, for our clients to know that it is my utmost I love what I do. I love BIA. I love every single one of my clients. And I personally, I believe in investing and partnering with people who I feel as though is going to give our clients the best results and continue to progress, get better, learn all of these things. And there's just only but so much that I know in the space. There's only but so much education that I have. And when we start to collaborate, which I think this is very powerful now to be able to talk about this in this space in the world, which I am okay with talking about. I am okay with collaboration because when you collaborate with people who know more than you, therefore we can help people get better. So I am open to collaboration. So you tell me all the things that you feel as though that why should we get labs and why shouldn't people feel nervous about getting them?
So when you say those comments, I immediately think of a few things. One, how many women are walking around right now with undiagnosed PCOS? They don't even know, and it's mainly because we've all been kind of put into this habit of you get labs when you need them when there's something wrong. Most people don't even go get labs on an annual basis. I will say women do a far better job. So thank you, ladies. You are a little bit more cognizant of your health. Men, that's a whole other topic.
Yep.
Um, but what I will say is that woman that's post baby, right? So she's
Mm-hmm.
post baby. She probably went back to training far too soon post baby, and she can't get rid of that little pooch in her stomach. And she's
Mm-hmm.
doing the burn boot camps, and she's doing, you know, hours of cardio a day, eating next to nothing, probably in a keto diet or something crazy because there's all these fad diets, and she's not seeing the needle move. She gets discouraged, and emotionally, what that does to a woman, I mean, it's everything. And so
Mm-hmm.
why are labs important? Because if you come in and get labs, we can go, hey, your progesterone's low. You've got an estrogen imbalance. Simple things that we can treat with different interventions. And instead of you having to go through this guessing game and trying to figure out what it is, you have an exact recipe to optimize your hormones. And then you work with an incredible coach like you, Michelle, or use somebody on your team who can optimize their nutrition. Now we're
Right.
seeing results right away.
Right.
There's no wait here. And we're doing it at medical doses on the hormone side. When we use our peptides, we're using peptides that they need,
Mm-hmm.
not a bunch of stuff that we're trying to sell. Because I'm a big believer in less is more. But little tweaks on a hormonal basis can make a huge impact to your fat loss journey, to your muscle building journey, to just how you feel, your libido, all of those different things. And I think often there's a misconception that testosterone is bad for women, and I can tell you that that's absolutely so inaccurate. It helps not only with your sex drive and your ability to build muscle, but it prevents osteoporosis and issues with bone density. Balanced hormones, and I can get on my whole soapbox, but balanced hormones in an optimized body has a lot less chance of having disease in it. And so I think, if you really want to be preventative about your health, I think getting annual at a minimum lab work is a necessity, but I would
Yep.
say every 6 months. And the other thing
Yep.
that I would say is you catch stuff early. So and I'm sure everybody that listens to this podcast has been in this situation, you get labs back and you see the reference range next to your number, and
Mm-hmm.
your number is at the top of that reference range, and that doctor says you're fine
You're fine.
because you're in that range. At Legacy, and I know you treat this the same way. At Legacy, we're addressing it now. We want
Yeah.
that number back in a healthy range so
Right.
that we know that patient never has an issue with that high cholesterol or that glucose blood glucose creeping up, or the A1C that's creeping up. So I really just think it should be ingrained in us and something that we do on an annual basis. You have a budget for your finances. You have subscriptions to all of these different things. Why not have a subscription to your health and make sure that you're taking care of yourself?
Period. I love that. Why not have a subscription to your health?
That's it.
That's a quote. I'm about to put that on my notes on
Put
Instagram.
it on a shirt.
That is amazing.
And then the other question that you asked was, like if you're nervous about getting labs. And I would say, listen, I don't like injections, and I'm terrible with blood, and I work in a medical practice. But it's all good. Like it's a safe thing to do. I think if you can get over the fear of getting your labs, you're going to know what's going on. I think sometimes people are in fear of their labs because they're worried about what's going to be on the other end. And I
Right.
can make an assurance to everybody that's on this BIA podcast. So long as this partnership's intact, if we're looking at the blood and BIA's looking at the nutrition, you guys have nothing to worry about. If there's all bunch of red markers, we're going to get that in line. That's what we
We got
specialize.
Yep, we got to fix it. We got to fix it. That's amazing. Okay, so tell me, why do you feel as though that you should pay out of pocket for the labs rather than go from your PCP or your GYN? I will say from experience that I have had like past, being on the whole birth control journey and getting off of birth control, all the stuff like that. I have gotten labs maybe once a year, never knew what the hell was going on with my labs. Didn't know that I was not getting full panels. And then I would go to a primary care physician and I would get my labs and they would just be half-ass. I wouldn't get all the things that I needed. It wasn't until that I went to one GYN that was in Jersey, and she was like the nicest person ever, and she would run all the labs that I needed. It was no question. Like, she was literally a unicorn. I would be like, hey, can you do TSH, free T3, reverse T4, T4, T3, all of the things? Can you do all my thyroid, my entire, hormonal panel? Can you do everything? And she was like, yeah. She just write it down and she would just get them all run for me. And it was like free. Like I didn't, it was through my insurance. I didn't have to pay for anything. Then she went out of practice and now I don't have her anymore. So now I go through another resource and technically pay out of pocket for my labs because I personally want to get everything done instead of just getting a half-ass thing. Because I remember going to a PCP and asked, can I get all of these labs run? They were like, no. And I was like, bruh, I will never be getting with that unicorn woman that I had who was at the GYN office ever again, So I'm curious of what your thoughts about with paying out of pocket for labs, and why should we do that instead of just going through a doctor?
Yeah, so I think the answer is super, super easy, and a lot of people don't like to hear it, but health insurance is about reimbursements and revenue. That's all it's about. And that's what healthcare has become. So you think about doctors, their care that's delivered to you is dictated directly by health insurance companies, the pharmaceutical companies they work with. And I always use this as an example. It's silly, but it's true. You go out and you're playing soccer and your leg's hanging the other way. We know that you tore some ligaments. They're going to send you in for an x-ray first. Why? Because it's another billable. And so I often say that, if you go in and you ask for labs, you're going to run into one of two things. One, the doctor's not going to know much about what you're asking about because a lot of these things are newer age medicine. I think a little bit ahead of where conventional medicine is right now. But the other thing that I'll say is they're going to order you a basic panel, your basic white and blood cell count, your cholesterol, to your point, maybe a portion of the thyroid panel, but certainly not a full thyroid panel. Where private pay, we don't have to deal with health insurance. Nobody dictates how we order lab work. So we're going to order the advanced hormone panels, the advanced cholesterol panels, the thyroid panel, your IGF-1, your cortisol, and guess what? Cholesterol comes back and we want to dig in more, we can do advanced cardiac testing and we can do advanced blood glucose testing. So GI map testing, all of these different interventions, we don't have to go through health insurance to do. So we cut a lot of red tape and often we'll hear, well, it costs more. Well, does it? Because if you add up the years of copays going to all of those doctors and those prescription refills for the things that are going to eventually hurt your liver and kidneys that you're going to need more medications for, we're actually pretty cheap.
Yep. Period. I love it. So I go and get my labs. I go do that. You guys see them. Then what? What happens? This is, I think, where Sonia comes in. So what happens? What are you doing differently rather than just being like, well, you're in range. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. So the way that we've built our practice is once we get the labs done, and I know we're in Tampa and you're up north, but in Tampa, a lot of our folks come into the lab, and Sonia actually does the lab draw. So she'll do the lab draw. She'll kind of go through that discovery, I'm sure as you do with your clients, on kind of what's going on, what their symptoms are, and we start to build the case. We typically get those labs back in a few days, and then once we do, we schedule a full consult, and that consult can be up to an hour where we go line by line through every one of those labs And we talk about what's going on. And in our practice, we make recommendations for their hormones if it's needed, what peptide therapies we would use. As I mentioned earlier, we do weight loss, but weight loss should be done a certain way. And I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the keys to the castle. You need collagen in your
Mm-hmm.
diet, and you better be hitting that protein goal, because if you're not, that injectable gastric lap band that you just put in will only work while you're taking it. Um, and then once we go through those things, that's when we have our own nutritional coaching program. We'll build their vitamin protocols and nutrition protocols based on those labs, and the results speak for themselves. And then I think the other piece that I'll tell you is anybody that's new to hormone optimization, female or male, I encourage you, whether you work with our partnership here or you work with someone else, make sure in the beginning you're getting hormone labs done at least every 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
until they're stabilized. And then once they're stabilized, every 6 months, I think is pretty fair. We require our clients to get it every 6 months. But when we're starting somebody off, every 3 months we're testing it. We just want to make sure that everything's in range. We want to prevent any potential issues that could take place from being out of range.
Absolutely, absolutely. So then after we get the labs in, you see them. I'm curious on what's the most common issues that you see for women specifically who are in their mid 20s, maybe going up towards their 60s. I mean, that's a very big range, but what do you feel as though are the main things that need to be addressed? What do you see more often? Because, and the reason why I'm talking about women is because that is mainly who BIA Nutrition speaks to. We speak to women in their, mid 20s, going up, usually 45. We do have clients that are as old as 70 years old. But I'm just curious on what you commonly see in the lab work from women now.
So I will tell you, we see everything, and I wish I could tell you we see this in 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. It's all over the map, and I think a lot of it has to do with food. I think nutrition has everything to do with where we see some of these things. But a commonality that I have seen is women from a very young age are set with body image issues. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
just the way society's made it. So you guys start dieting much earlier than men ever have to worry about it. We get away with it a lot longer, eating whatever we want and doing whatever we want. And so I say this because you guys get into the no carb type diets, the intense cardiovascular training, and so that leads to thyroid dysfunction almost every time. So
Yeah.
often we'll have somebody come in and they've got thyroid issues. And if that same person went to an endocrinologist about their thyroid issue, they get put on levothyroxine or some sort of
Levothyroxine.
medication,
Yep.
and that's it.
Yep.
Where we're going to go, hey, why don't we try to fix this with food and natural supplementation? And almost every time we're able to do it and get it in range, thyroid's functioning well. We see a lot of low progesterone.
Mm-hmm.
We see a tremendous amount of estrogen imbalances up and down, depending on where they're at in their life, premenopause, postmenopause. Vitamin D deficiency, almost every time. I'll tell you all right now, get on some vitamin D. If you're not, ask Michelle. She'll tell you what you need to take. Um, and then I think blood sugar regulation. So again, with hormone dysfunction, blood sugar dysregulation follows, and so we see a lot of that, and that cholesterol leading to inflammation, making it tough for them to hit their fitness goals, and that leads to the brain fog and the just not feeling good, and the gut health. And I hear that a lot with the women that we start coaching in the beginning. And so we really focus on kind of fixing all of that, especially digestion. Digestion is another huge piece of this puzzle as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I usually see also some issues with cortisol levels as well. Usually
Yep.
cortisol levels are extremely low or extremely high, depending on who the person is.
Yeah.
A lot of my women, because I come from a dance performer background and we work with a lot of performers, their circadian rhythms are usually off, and they don't sleep well at night, and they get up very, late in the day. So it's always like just this back and forth of how their circadian rhythm is actually working, and then they don't get good sleep at night, and they're like, Michelle, I'm only getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep at night. And I was like, well, that's an issue, because
Yeah, absolutely.
if you
Absolutely.
ain't getting no sleep, then we ain't gonna get no results.
No, no, it's
Period.
huge. It's huge.
Insane. So I love that we are going to be able to take this next step to be able to look at these numbers and really not tell you if you're just in range. I can't tell you how many women has come to me and being like, oh, well, I have hypothyroidism. And then all of a sudden their doctors are putting them on levothyroxine. It's insane. And I'm like, why? I've looked at labs and I'm just like, why are we doing that? There's just so many other things that we could do instead of just putting a Band-Aid on this thing, especially when you're only just looking at TSH. Insane. I'm like,
and push back. Like, that's what I would say. Fight for your health. Anybody that's listening to this, fight for your health, because I want to give you one example kind of to the tune of what you're talking about, Michelle.
Yeah.
And my apologies for interrupting, but I'll forget it.
No, please, go for it.
We've got a client that I've been coaching for over a year and a half. He's a male, young male in his late 20s, sub 8% body fat. I know his diet because I coach him personally, and we have not been able to regulate his cholesterol this entire time we've been coaching him. So the easy solve is you need to go see a cardiologist, and they likely need to put you on a statin. But we don't stop there. And so we go, maybe this is a genetic thing. So we run advanced cardiac testing, lipoprotein testing, apolipoprotein. I can't speak today, sorry. But we run those tests and we find out that he's got genetic issues that are leading to this cholesterol. We're still not going to put him on a statin because of what it does to the body. So we've built and crafted a peptide and vitamin protocol for him to help bring these numbers down aggressively so that we can at least maintain it. Now, this gentleman's going to have to get his labs done every 6 months for the rest of his life. He's not on any hormone optimization, doesn't need it because he's healthy otherwise. But I think those are small examples of what is available out there to you if you just look past what United Healthcare covers, or what a general physician offers.
Absolutely. What would you say to a woman that has too many cooks in the kitchen? Because I see this often. They go to the GYN and they get their hormones. Then they go to the endocrinologist and they get their thyroid. Then they go to the PCP and get their CMP, CB. What would you say to that woman?
Wow. Man. And listen, I am not a physician, letting everybody know on this call. I'm not a physician. We have the physicians in our practice. But I get in a lot of disagreements with physicians because of what we do. And I think a lot of it is, here's my best example. I'm at an endocrinologist with my mom who's got all kinds of different stuff going on, and he's recommending every pharmaceutical you could possibly think to manage her blood sugar. She's not a compliant patient with me, so of course I can't help her, but I'm there to support. And I looked at it and I said, don't you think maybe like an IV drip of glutathione would be good for her, just to reduce the inflammation in her body, kind of help get things moving? And he said, I can't opine on that. You need to see a gastroenterologist. And I just started laughing because these are basic things. Peptides are basic. A lot of this stuff's basic. So women that are going to all these different doctors, not only are you getting different compounds from them, but you're getting different opinions, because I can guarantee you they're not all on the same page. And so what I would say is, if you're going to take your health seriously, build a health team that works together and collaborates, that delivers the end result that you desire and that's best for you and your health.
That's amazing. Absolutely. So would you say that also then a person who has so many cooks in the kitchen and has all these labs, works from different times, different time periods, all of them got them done, out of the period, within the period, blah, blah, blah. Do you feel as though that we have a collective data that is substantial to be able to give a protocol? Or do you feel as though that person should be able to just be like, I'm going to one person, getting all the labs done and getting it read?
I think you should go to one person, because it's consistency. When you look at scientific studies, they control the variables, right? So if you're using the same provider that you're getting your labs from, the same vendor that's doing the labs, and you're getting the same measurements in the same ranges, then you really can make meaningful numbers, because, a LabCorp versus a Quest Labs versus this or that, their ranges are different. So sometimes it's hard to kind of do an apples to apples comparison. So I do think consistency with the same provider over a long period of time, or at least a couple of years, will give you enough data to know where your body's trending.
Absolutely. And Legacy Health and Wellness is partnered with LabCorp, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Amazing. So that's where I actually get my labs done. I actually go to the LabCorp literally right down the street from me. I could walk if I wanted to. And I just make my appointment. I give them my sheet. They take all my blood. Every time they say, they're like, wow, you're getting a lot of blood drawn. And I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm getting
yep,
it all done at this moment because you won't see
yep,
me again for the next 6 months. Usually
yep.
it's 3. Sometimes I'll get my lab work drawn every 3 months. Maybe 6 months is usually where I go for. But yeah, LabCorp is great. I've never had an issue with scheduling an appointment through LabCorp. Super, super easy. And I love that we have this partnership to be able to be like, hey, you're getting your labs done, going all over to Legacy Health and Wellness. We're going to connect you. You're going to go make your appointment, go get that blood drawn, come home, and we're going to tell you exactly what the hell is going on.
Yes, ma'am.
That's amazing. I love it. All right. So tell me, last thing, I'm going to actually throw a trick question at you. Why are you so excited about what you do as Legacy Health and Wellness and as a coach? And what is your ultimate goal for people in the world right now?
So I love what I do because for I'm not going to even give my age, but for 38 years, I did a job where I helped people, but I never felt like I made impact in their lives. Like I was able to help them through a transaction, and that was it. And when I found this, I don't know of many other things that you can do in life where you can change somebody's life and potentially change the trajectory of their family's life. And to be able to hear, I've never felt this good before. I never thought I'd be able to do X. That fills me with so much joy that this isn't work. This is my mission from God, and this is my ministry. So I love what I do. And then I think my hope for kind of people and the business that we do is that we just expand this message. We're in the process of launching a website with one of the most robust peptide libraries on the internet, so people have a source of truth, podcasts like what we have. I want to do more of, because there is a right way to do this. And in a day where social media has got so much information, I can see how the consumer just gets, you're stuck. Like, you don't know what to do. Do I intermittent fast? Do I do keto? Do I do this? Do I do that? And so we've got the science, we've got the tools. Like, we're blessed to be able to do that. And when I tell everybody I get to work with, the people that I am fortunate enough to coach and work with, I'm going to make more impact in their life than they've ever seen, because that's what I was put on earth to do, and I love it.
Amazing. I love that. That's the same way I felt about being a performer. I was like, yes, I brought people joy in this type of way of being a performer on a Broadway stage. But when I had my one inkling of being on that stage and looking out and being like, I'd much rather be coaching my clients right now, and having my clients come to me. And we were just having in our group chat yesterday, people just showing all of our girls. It just went off. This wasn't me. I did not prompt this. One of our clients posted their before and afters and just talked about how they're in a whole new body and they did not think that they could be this person on who they are today. And they're like, BIA did this for me, y'all. Like, if y'all just follow what they're telling you, you can make these results. And I'm in the midst of things going on in my life right now, but I was able to make this change. And then it started rippling effect to all the other clients showing their before and afters and and the next person's before and afters. And then our clients who had just joined with us are just like, oh my gosh, this is so inspirational. I cannot wait for this to be me. That to me is the driver. And I think that's the driver for me seeing like, oh, I can change people's lives. And now I'm going to be able to have this partnership to be able to change their lives even more. It's not just a physique thing. Now I'm able to change them from the inside out. They're going to feel like the baddest bitches out here. That's what I'm here for. Okay. Yeah. That is important to me. And it's bigger than just being a performer on a Broadway stage. It's being able to say, hey, let's change people's lives. And that's what I'm here for. And I love that you are doing this too, and I'm glad that we are in partnership with together.
So glad, so thankful, and we're gonna change the world together, and we'll make it happen.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. Tell us where we can find you if somebody is looking for just individual help. And look, there might be some people who don't want to be with BIA Nutrition and they want to be with Steven. I'm cool with that too. Look, I'm here for people who want to change their lives, and whoever they feel as though the best coach is for them, then they can go to who they think is the best. Absolutely. Whatever, who they connect with, you know what I mean? Yeah. So tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, so my Instagram handle is at Coach Steven Hoschak, Hoschak, and our website for Legacy is www.legacyhealthtampa.com. That's a great source of information on all the different things that we do, especially on the regenerative side with stem cells. I know there's a lot of questions about that. We do it well, and we actually partner with somebody up in New York as well, so we can help all of your folks in that area as well.
Amazing. Absolutely. And all of our BIA baddies, you will have access to Legacy Health and Wellness. All you have to do is just ask me, and anyone who is new incoming, guess what? You're going to have the collaboration anyway, so you want to know exactly where to find Legacy Health and Wellness. You ain't going to have to worry about that. Thank you so much, Steven, for coming on this podcast today. I really appreciate you. I hope you have a beautiful day. I also want to thank Sonia as well for her love and support, and everything that she's already done for BIA now has just been amazing. We are so excited for this partnership, and I can't wait to have you on another podcast soon.
It's our absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, everyone. Make sure you listen on everywhere this podcast is to be listened to, and comment. And if you have any questions for me or Steven, please don't hesitate to ask. I will talk to you all on the next one. Bye-bye.